Hello and Minglaba, welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. COVID-19 case numbers reached 313 with 241 recoveries. 2.4 million tons of rice targeted to export in 2019 to 2020 fiscal year. A report on a state councillor stressing the need for supporting manual labor in construction industry. And a story coverage on the basic commodities market gradually becoming stable. All these reports coming up later on Myanmar Today, but for now, let's take a look at what's happening in local news. The investigation body into the landslide that occurred at a mining site in Parken, Kachin State on the 2nd of July went to investigate at the site of the incident Sunday morning. The landslide killed 172 workers and injured 54 others at a mining site near Huaykat Village, Saitmu Village Tract in Lonkin, Parken Township. The union ministers then met with 16 families of the deceased and offered their condolences. The National Disaster Management Committee and Ministry of Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement are providing 96.8 million kyats to the victims of the landslide at a rate of 500,000 kyats for each family of the 172 deceased and 200,000 kyats for 54 who were injured. The Kachin State government provided 22.6 million kyats at a rate of 100,000 kyats for each family of the deceased and injured, while the Jams Association and Myanmar Thurat Jams Company provided 750,000 kyats for each family of the deceased and 375,000 kyats for each person who was injured. A fresh batch of 41 Myanmar nationals who returned home from the neighboring countries through border towns arrived in Minbu, Magwe region Sunday morning, according to Minbu Myanmar Police Station. The returnees are from the Rakhine State and Minbu District Stadium received them. The 41 returnees, 23 men and 18 women, worked at paper factories, clothing factories, pineapple factories and construction sites in border towns. After temporarily keeping them at the Minbu District Stadium, police officers led by the Myanmar Police Station Police Captain Minzo and officials made arrangements to help them return home. The returnees were transported back to Rakhine State via Minbu and Sitwe Road. Before departure, the returnees received medical checks. From Minbu, a total of 5,008 returnees were transported back to the Rakhine State between 5th of May and the 5th of July this year. A special relief flight carrying experts and personnel from 5 different organizations to provide support to the fight against COVID-19 in Myanmar landed at the Yangon International Airport Sunday morning. On board the flight, which departed from Malaysia, were disinfectants and personal protection supplies to be used in WFP's humanitarian operations and 9 experts from different organizations including UN and ICRC in Myanmar. The weekly flights linking Yangon with international connections have so far carried into Myanmar over 6 metric tons of essential supplies for the fight against COVID-19, including test kits, medical supplies, laboratory equipment, and PPEs. A member of the Board of Trustee of the Shootagon Pagoda said when the Shootagon Pagoda reopens, 3 feet social distancing will be enforced in line with guidelines of the Ministry of Health and Sports. The 3 feet social distancing will be enforced for local visitors at the 4 prayer halls, Shootagon Boboji and Lokapala Meroji. When the pagoda reopens, visitors must wear masks and wash their hands with soap and water. Temperature of the visitors will also be checked. 4 disinfection chambers will be installed at the Shootagon Pagoda. All foreign visitors are required to enter the chambers before entering the pagoda. Entrance fee for a foreign visitor is 10,000 kyats and masks will be distributed free of charge. A total of 170 Myanmar nationals, 122 from the Philippines and 48 from India, arrived back home by relief flights the past 2 days. Myanmar Airways International's relief flight carrying 122 Myanmar citizens from the Philippines landed at the Yangon International Airport on Sunday. 15 of them were those who were stranded in the Philippines and 107 were those who were working on the ships of Conquest Dream and Holland America of Carnival Cruise Line. Air India's relief flight carrying 48 Myanmar nationals stranded in India arrived at the Yangon International Airport on the 4th of May. The ministry has been working with Myanmar embassies in foreign countries and local ministries concerned to bring back citizens stranded abroad due to the suspension of international commercial flights in accordance with the guidance of the National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19. There have been a total of 6,818 Myanmar citizens who were repatriated from foreign countries. Officials from the Ministry of Health and Sports inspected facilities of Forever Group Media Company and sample shootings at the Film Development Center and at Bojo Park for Bojo Aung San biopic in Yangon on Saturday. The health officials suggested guidelines for prevention of COVID-19 in media and film production processes as they arrived at the makeup room, studios, editing room, staff canteen, indoor and outdoor places of Forever Group Company in Yangon Township and the company's broadcast facilities in North Dagong Myothit. The officials also looked into sample shootings at the Film Development Center and for Bojo Aung San biopic in Bojo Park in Pahan Township. And that's all with the local news, and here's a first report on Myanmar Today. According to the Ministry of Health and Sports, the number of COVID-19 cases are up to 313, with 6 deaths and 241 recoveries. The deadly disease has spread to 188 countries, killing over 525,000 people and afflicting over 11.1 million people, according to the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center. The Yangon region has the highest number of COVID-19 cases, with 222 among the regions and states, and Kayin State is the second with 26. Bomo and Soidana will tell us more.
The numbers of the COVID-19 cases are up to 313, with 6 deaths and 241 recoveries, according to the Ministry of Health and Sports. All of the new confirmed cases are the people who had returned from foreign countries, and all those people have been admitted to the South Okalapa Women and Children Hospital. Currently, Yangon region has the highest number of COVID-19 cases with 222, and Kayin State is the second with 26. Dr. Tan Aiso, the Director of Health Knowledge Promotion Division from the Ministry of Health and Sports, spoke to My Radio through phone interview about how to protect the COVID-19 infections from the similarity of the seasonal influenza. He said,
In
the rainy season, the dengue fever, seasonal influenza, is the most common disease. But this year, the COVID-19 infection also contains the list of the seasonal flu. All types of infections are the same as each other. So wearing masks and washing hands can protect all types of infections currently. People still need to have health knowledge that COVID-19 is not a short-term battle. It will be a kind of long-term battle that people will have to fight.
From May 16 to July 4th, a total of 127 returnees have tested positive for COVID-19, according to the Ministry of Health and Sports. Currently, Myanmar ranks 162 in the Worldometer Coronavirus Research Center. The government and the Ministry of Health and Sports still want the people to follow the guidelines. In some places, people don't even wear the masks like the infection has gone. Ukemawin Region Lotto representative from Bazonau Township spoke to My Radio about his views on the COVID-19 through phone interview. He said,
We have encouraged the people about the infections. As the pharmacist said, the infections depend on the body immune system and the protection. In this period, most of the people have walked back to their related workplaces, so the protection will be the most suitable actions for us. When we look at the country situation, we haven't seen the local transmission much. We only have had 6 deaths, so we are in good condition comparing to other countries.
State Counsellor Aung San Suu Kyi urged the local people through her Facebook account about the COVID-19. She urged the people not to be careless about the infections while the other countries giving applause to us about controlling the COVID-19. She also said to have perseverance to fight the infections. Dr. Wine, the resident from Yangon, spoke to My Radio about the prevention. She said,
To prevent the infection, we must have strong immune system.
So I asked the family to eat healthy food, not to go out either walking. I don't let them to go to the crowded places. I put the washing basin in front of the house since the start of the infection. I asked the customer to wash their hand before they enter the shop.
ဟာရပြည့်မှာပုံဒီဖြစ်တာလက်ကိုလည်းသူတို့စီးရတယ်မစီးလို့လည်းမရအောင်အဲ့ဆိုင်ရှိမှဆိုလက်တန့်စီတွေအကုန်လုံးချတာလာလဲလို့စီးတယ်
From January 31st to July 4th, the government has tested a total of 81,977 people as to the disease, according to the data from the Ministry of Health and Sports. The deadly disease has spread to 188 countries, killing over 525,000 people and afflicting over 11.1 million people, according to the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center.
That's a report on COVID-19 case numbers reaching 313 with 241 recoveries in Myanmar. We'll move on to the next report. The rice export targeted for 2019 to 2020 fiscal years is 2.4 million tons, and over 2 million tons have already been exported until the data released in the middle of June. So, to meet the targeted rice export, Myanmar Rice Federation is to export the remaining 400,000 tons of rice within the remaining 3 months of the fiscal year. For that reason, some procedures for rice export were relaxed as well. Thoras was in Ann Zerman report.
Myanmar is supposed to export 2.4 million tons of rice in 2019-2020 fiscal years, and over 2 million tons have already been exported until June. And 400,000 tons of rice is still left to meet the targeted rice export. According to the coordination meeting related to the rice export held under the guidance of the Ministry of Commerce on the 26th of June, Myanmar Rice Federation (MRF) is to export 150,000 tons of rice each in July and August, and 100,000 tons of rice is to be exported in September, totaling the rice export quota of 400,000 tons within the remaining 3 months of the fiscal year. The coordination meeting also decided that, starting from July, each export quota limit for companies is to be lifted, and license permit and a contract was discussed and approved. The validity of the rice export license is extended up to 60 days from the earlier term of 45 days. Moreover, as realization regarding the state's reserve rice, the rice volume for reserve will be down to 5% from 10% of total rice export, starting from the 1st of July. These actions are taken to meet the rice export target of 2.4 million tons in 2019-2020 fiscal years.
Since the WHO has announced COVID-19 as a global pandemic, the Ministry of Commerce, Myanmar Rice Federation, and UMFCCI have been working together to implement strategies for rice sector. Local consumption and market is stable. For export, we suspended in April, but when we started in May until the mid of June, we did export 150,000 to 200,000 tons of rice, which is worth about $100 million. The local market is stable and the export is going as normal, so that the rice sector has lesser impacts caused by COVID-19. Last year, we have exported 2.3 million tons, and this year, we can reach to the target rice export since over 2 million tons have already been exported until the middle of June.
Because of ensuring food security in the country, in the earlier months of the COVID-19 outbreak in Myanmar, the rice export was limited. Then the export has returned to normal in May, according to the MRF. At present, the local market constitutes over 70% of production, 20% is exported, and 10% is sold to the state. According to the new announcement, only 5% will be sold to the state. As of the 12th of June, the state has already purchased about 34,000 tons of rice from over 120 companies, and the rice has been stored at 9 warehouses in Mandalay, Yangon, and Naypyidaw.
COVID-19 ဖြစ်တော့နိုင်ငံတကာကလည်းဒီ
At the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak, foreign countries also want to buy and store more rice for the food security. During the previous months of COVID-19, we also had to make sure to have enough rice for the local consumption, and therefore we exported the limited amount. But now it has been quite long fighting against COVID-19, and the proposal for rice exports gets back to normal. The exporters also sold the reserved rice to the state. When we had to sell at 10% of rice export volume as the reserved rice to the nation, we did not get paid just like the exported rice. As exporters, there are losses, but now, if the reserved rice sale is only 5% of the export volume, we'll have lesser price loss. We mainly export to Africa and Europe, as well as in Asia. The export goes to Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia.
From October of 2019 to the 19th of June of 2020, Africa market consumes 32.22% of total export, followed by China with 27.21%, European Union market with 19.74%, and ASEAN countries with 17.37% consumption of total export. For this year, the broken rice is more exported than the previous years, and the white rice export is as normal as before, despite the challenges caused by the COVID-19 outbreak. According to MRF, 2.088 million tons of rice and broken rice has been already exported as of the 19th of June of the current fiscal year, which is worth of $621.044 million. To compare the same period of the previous fiscal year, over 368,000 tons of rice were exceeded than the export of the last year. The targeted rice export for 2019-2020 fiscal years is 2.4 million tons, and the peak recorded export was 3.6 million tons in 2017-2018 fiscal years. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's a report on 2.4 million tons of rice targeted to export in 2019 to 2020 fiscal year. More reports coming up later. Stay with us. At a video conference hosted by State Counsellor Aung San Suu Kyi, it was highlighted to enhance the competency of the construction workers. The State Counsellor mentioned giving support to the manual labour of the construction industry by providing them with more job opportunities as well as training for skill enhancement through the cooperation of the government and the private sector. We turn to our reporter Dora Suisin for more on the story.
In Myanmar, the construction can be differentiated into two status: construction by union budget and that by public investment. Under construction started by the union budget, the ministry spent about 5,000 billion jes on construction, as well as about 2,000 million US dollars is utilized by the loan from international. For the public investment, it includes construction of house, religious building, and developers building. When the COVID-19 outbreak started in Myanmar, the construction works were suspended in April. At present, the construction works by the ministries, as well as about 60% of construction with public investment, are currently in operation. Over 1 million workers, including manual labor, designers, engineers, architects, developers, and many more employees are working for construction sector in the whole country.
Construction sector can provide more chances for job opportunities because the manual labor can easily be hired without many necessary skills. They can learn from work and experience, so we are to continue implementing new projects under the nation's budget as well as under PPP system. According to the data of 2018, 1.37 million labor is working in construction industry of Myanmar. Out of them, the manual labor is the most, who are the daily wage workers.
This was said by Deputy Minister for Construction, Dr. Jolin, at the regular video conferencing concerning the construction sector amid COVID-19, hosted by State Counsellor Aung San Suu Kyi on the 3rd of July. The other participants of the video conferencing were U Sheng-win, Chairman of Myanmar Construction Entrepreneurs Federation, MCEF, and U Tae-lun, who is a construction worker as well as a leader of Carpenters team.
Creating job opportunity is important for our country, and I also accept that the construction industry can create mass job opportunity. Therefore, the government is also supporting the construction sector in every possible way. Especially, we are to implement projects of housing for retired government employees. As the Deputy Minister mentioned, some projects are not going well because the export for international cannot come due to the flight suspension. We have to enhance the competency of our local workers. When the manual labor start to work in construction sector, I want to suggest training them to be equipped with professionalism according to their job prospect.
The manual labor is mostly affected by the impact of COVID-19 when the construction sites are closed. Utelui, the construction worker, reported to the state councillor about the difficulties that construction workers normally face with.
If our construction labor does not have work for 3 days, we have difficulties in living. Especially when the schools are opened, we have to spend on the daily expenses of our children, including the transportation, books, and pocket money. Then we have to borrow money. So the government is requested to do more construction projects. The next point is that most of the construction workers working in Yangon are from the other parts of the country, so that we are also difficult in accommodation. If we are able to get land in countryside, we can build our own temporary places to live in. Moreover, it will be better for our next generation if the vocational training schools for construction can be opened.
The state councillor said the government and the public entrepreneurs have to help the manual labor to always have employment for the income security. She mentioned that the government will review to provide a temporary place to live in for the migrant workers. For the competency enhancement, the state councillor said the government is planning to provide more vocational trainings.
The government also supports the vocational schools in other countries. The vocational schools are at the same level as the universities. We are trying to open more vocational schools, but it cannot happen immediately. It takes time to open a school and has many procedures. We want to create the education for the basic learners to go up to professionalism.
To have more construction projects, the state councillor also requested the cooperation of the private sector as well as the government is to review the tender processes, tasks, and loan for the construction enterprises. Dora Susan reporting from Myanmar International Radio.
And we have one last report on the basic commodities market coming up on Myanmar Today. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. The basic commodities market is getting back to its stable condition gradually in Yangon, but according to the report by some of the business persons from this sector, it will take some time to get back to normal. Williamson has more on the condition of groceries based in Tirimingla market.
The basic commodities market has been slightly down for months in the last 3 to 4 months. But starting from the end of June, it started to get it quite stable, and the people who are depending on this business hope to overcome the obstacles for the stable market zones as the market is stabilizing gradually for now. Tirimingla market is one of the well-known markets in Yangon where the basic commodities have fairer price than other local market, and this is also where many of the local shopkeepers collect the goods for reselling. Utanai is one of the shop owners at Tirimingla market who mostly sells fruits. Spoke to Amai Radio about the current situation of the sale, and he said,
comparing to the previous months, the sale has been improving back to its stability. From March to May was a time there was lesser number of goods coming and the sale was also dropping at that time. For now, as the situation of virus-infected case seems to be controlled well enough for the business sector like us, it's getting back to normal slowly. We see the number of goods coming is growing at the same time the sale is also going up.
As this Tirimingla market is the place where the goods are gathered and collected by distributors for further reselling, each shop owner has specific items available at this shop. Therefore, there's always difference in prices on the goods depending on the flow of the goods for now. Another factor is the price of the goods depends on from where the goods are transported and availability of the goods as well. The goods, mostly fruits, from different places of Myanmar gather here and this market becoming the center of fruits market. Kotesawin is another shop owner at Tiri Mingla Market who also sells vegetables to both consumers directly but mostly to the distributors, and speaking to MI Radio he said,
Although the sale is not doing really well and stable, but we are working to cope with whatever the situation we're into. For now, as there is no stable say, we cannot predict anything from what will happen next. Before COVID-19, we were at least able to predict when the say would go up and when the say drops, usually. But for now, the only thing we can do is pray for the situation to be back to normal. I cannot really blame anyone for this economic crisis because the whole world is affected by it. For me, the business is down to 40% after the outbreak of COVID-19. We cannot run the shop for 24 hours in a day anymore as we have to abide by the restriction and regulation imposed by the government as a citizen.
Speaking on the issue these shop owners are now facing, Utanai also said,
For only difficulty we have for now is we have restriction which is similar to curfew. Since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Myanmar till today, we have to leave the market by 7 p.m. in the evening. We can open the shop from 4 a.m. in the morning. The sale can be done only during this period from 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. And other than this, we can only do reloading and unloading of the goods from the trucks.
One vase of onion is sold at 1,000 kyat to 1,500 kyat. A vase of garlic is sold at 3,000 kyat to 3,500. And a vase of tomato is sold at 500 to 1,200 kyat. And a vase of sugar is sold at 1,200. For oil, a vase of bean oil is priced between 6,000 to 10,000 kyats, and 7,000 to 9,000 for sesame oil, and 1,600 to 2,000 kyats for palm oil. For the non-vegetables, a vase of CP chicken is sold at 5,000 to 7,000 kyats, whereas the local chicken is sold at 10,000 to 12,000 kyats. A vase of pork is sold at 12,000 kyats to 16,000 kyats. A vase of mutton is sold at 20,000 to 30,000 kyats, and beef is sold at 15,000 to 18,000 kyats. In general, the flow of goods is less and the sale is also affecting directly. For now, the condition of the market is almost back to normal for the business in this sector. This is Williamson for MI Radio.
That's all we have for today's reports, and here's the international news on Myanmar Today. US President Donald Trump plans an outdoor rally in New Hampshire on Saturday, the campaign's second event of the coronavirus era, following one in Tulsa, Oklahoma last month that failed to draw the crowds his advisors predicted. The campaign's announcement on Sunday of the planned rally comes at the end of a holiday weekend that saw the Republican reaffirm his vow to defeat what he called the radical left, as polls show him trailing presumptive Democratic nominee and former Vice President Joe Biden ahead of the November 3rd election. Trump's campaign said the rally will be held at 8 p.m. at Portsmouth International Airport and, in a nod to a national rise in coronavirus cases, would provide hand sanitizer and face masks. The enhancement of the law on safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, HKSAR, is a historic step in improving Hong Kong's legal system and the one country, two systems principle, HKSAR chief executive and major government officials said on Sunday, pledging to fully support the implementation of the new law. Chief Executive of the HKSAR, Carrie Lam, and 16 major officials of the HKSAR government published articles on the front page of local newspaper One Weibo, pledging to do their best in supporting the implementation of the law and expressing hope that the public will have more confidence in Hong Kong's future after fully understanding the law. In other news, at least 17 people were killed and 63 others injured in Chicago over the Independence Day holiday weekend as a result of gun violence. The victims included 2 children. One is a 7-year-old girl and the other a 14-year-old boy. The Chicago Police Department added more than 1,200 extra officers to work during the holiday weekend in response to violence that has occurred since Memorial Day weekend. Police spokesman Tom Ahern said in one shooting just before midnight Saturday, 4 males opened fire on a large gathering in the street in the Englewood neighborhood. 2 males died at the scene and 2 more, including a 14-year-old boy, died at a hospital. Ahern said 4 others were injured, with 1 in critical condition and the other 3 in fair condition. The 4 attackers fled the scene. No one was arrested. North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region has confirmed 1 bubonic plague case, local health authorities announced late Sunday evening. The case was first reported as a suspected case on Saturday at the People's Hospital in Urat, Middle Bana in Bayanur City. The patient, a local herdsman, has now been quarantined and is in stable condition. The Municipal Commission said in a press release, local authorities in Bayanur have issued a level 3 warning for plague prevention and control that will last until the end of 2020. It also urged the public to beef up self-protection as the city is at risk of people-to-people infections and not to hunt and eat animals that could cause plague infections. Visitors to the Taj Mahal will have to wear masks at all times, keep their distance, and not touch its glistening marble surfaces when India's 17th century monument to love reopens on Monday after a 3-month COVID-19 shutdown. Only 5,000 tourists will be allowed in a day, split into 2 groups, a far cry from peak levels of 80,000 a day who would swarm the mausoleum built in the northern city of Agra by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife in a 22-year effort. Authorities are reopening the Taj and other monuments such as New Delhi's Red Fort, just as India's coronavirus infections are rising at the fastest pace in 3 months. And that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Stay safe and stay protected, everyone. I'll see you again. Goodbye.